campaigns will start and then they'll taper off. So I've got to give them attention. I've got to get new clients. I've got to, all of these things start happening to you.
Yep.
Okay. And that's what happened to us. That's what happens to almost every agency. They figure that out and now they got to solve that problem. I'm going to start this conversation off discussing two types of fatigue. And then we'll transition from that to, the action items on how to fix these things. So I think a lot of people have heard of ad fatigue. Okay. Mm-hmm. We call that creative fatigue. Okay. So that's one type of fatigue. And then the other is algorithm fatigue.
Yep.
Okay. Primarily speaking, these are the two types of fatigue or slow down of that you're going to experience in your marketing campaigns. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this, I think almost everybody, as soon as a campaign takes off, starts to get some results, and then it tapers off, that's the natural progression of a campaign. They immediately kind of jump to, hey, my creative, something's wrong with my creative. I need to change the ads. I need to do this. Okay. So let's start there. I've been talking a lot, Jacob. I don't know where you want to pick up this wand, but I want to mostly hand this over to you again. This is your area of expertise. So let's go ahead and dish all.
Yeah. So let's actually backtrack a little bit to the arc of an agency, right? And you said, hey, you started off with 2 to 3 clients usually, and you'll grow up from there. The problems that we're going to discuss here even apply to people with 2 to 3 clients, because the thing that is very different from a local market as opposed to big regional campaigns, big e-commerce campaigns, is, like you mentioned, audience size. There is a massive difference in that audience size between a local campaign and a national campaign. And with a local campaign, you burn through your audience way faster than you do with a national campaign, right? You can flip a campaign that's humming, and it can hum for months on end on a national or on a regional campaign. Very rarely will you get a campaign that can just hum for months on end on a local basis, right? Because you're going to basically expose yourself to everybody in that audience much faster than you will on a national or regional scale. So even having 2 to 3 clients, what you guys are probably used to seeing is it's going, and then it starts, as Sam was saying, it starts fatiguing, right? Your results start decreasing. You start getting fewer conversions. Your cost per lead starts going up, and your initial gut reaction is, let's do new creative. Let's do something different, right? And one of the parts with local marketing that's hard, and that UpHex actually makes a whole lot easier to realize, is understanding which direction the problem is coming from. Yes. You mentioned algorithmic fatigue, which honestly for local marketing is what you're going to get 90% of the time, as opposed to ad fatigue.
Yes.
Right. So your ad fatigue, which is they've literally seen your ad 50 times in a row. Facebook, first off, isn't really going to let that happen. Eventually, they're just going to stop showing your ads, and you're going to see that reflected in increased CPMs and things like that, right? Because they're going to start punishing you for showing the ad too much. What you're really going to have is that fatigue of the algorithm. The algorithm is basically telling you, I've run out of people, right? I've run out of people at this moment. I need you to give me more. Facebook is a macro game, not a micro game. And so that's really what you're running into. So you either have that algorithmic fatigue in one direction, or offer fatigue, right? Your offer is no longer congruent to your local area. And again, this is where UpHex can really shine as well, because now you can start aggregating data from other clients and start coming up with better offers that you can spin up faster, as opposed to before you'd be sitting there calling up your client. Oh, what about this? What do you think about this? Now you can just have data that's coming in from multiple different directions to basically say, nope, this offer is my next lineup, and then I'm going to build something similar to that. So your first thing is to find which vein is it going to be. And honestly, it's super easy to figure it out. If it's algorithmic fatigue, all you have to do is make a slight adjustment to the size of your audience, right? So if let's say you're doing a radius targeting and you're targeting 5 miles, you bump it up to 6 miles. You just make that slight little adjustment. If immediately your ads performance improves, you start seeing your conversions rolling in, your costs going down. It's not the offer. The offer is not the problem. It was the algorithm. Facebook basically just said, "Hey, I've run out of people. Can you give me some more?" And you rebooted the system, and now Facebook can keep doing its deal, right? If after you do that, it's still not working, then you know it's the offer, and now you need to go in that direction and make some adjustments. So it really simplifies down the buttons that you need to push on Facebook. And that's one of the things too that's really different from local marketing, from big marketing, is there's really not that many buttons you need to worry about. Facebook has a bazillion tools, and 85% of them there's no business even thinking about when it comes to local marketing.
I want to back up here just a minute, because I think there's some people who immediately had a light bulb. They're like, okay, I get it. They don't need any explanation. But there's also people that don't quite, maybe they're newer, maybe their agency is, within their first year or whatever, and they're just learning some of these things. So if we go back by adjusting the radius 1 mile out from, your example is from 5 miles to 6 miles. Yep. What effectively is happening there, and why is that the fix?
So a couple things happen. So one, Facebook goes back into what's called learning mode.
Yes.
So the Facebook algorithm is a big enigma. I mean, Facebook really doesn't tell you very much about it. But what we do know about the Facebook algorithm is it performs the best when you leave it alone, right? The more you,
the hardest thing to do, by the way.
Yeah. The more you try to constrain it, the worse it performs, right? The more you let it be open and figure things out, the better the Facebook algorithm performs. So what you're doing is you're basically triggering the algorithm to, when you make that radius change, rethink the audience now, right? Because what Facebook does when it first goes out, right? So you launch your ads, the algorithm starts learning, it starts getting feedback from users. And the way it gets feedback is it looks at how long are people pausing on your posts? Are they clicking on it? Are they engaging with it when they go to your website or your Facebook lead gen form? What are they doing, right?
Yeah.
So Facebook's gathering all this information to basically determine whether or not this ad is going to help Facebook, right? So
that's right.
That's the other part too that people have to remember when you're making Facebook ads. Facebook promotes Facebook ads and gives you better pricing for ads that also make Facebook look good.
Yeah.
Right. If you're creating a bad experience where people are annoyed at the ad that Facebook is presenting, Facebook will punish you for that. Right. Because they don't want that. They want their users to be happy. So they're looking for all this information. And eventually what happens, the algorithm basically focuses on a sector of the audience. Right. So when it says your potential audience size is 100,000 people, the algorithm isn't actually targeting 100,000 people. It's basically taking that and saying, okay, out of these 100,000 people, there is 20,000 people with an affinity for your product. And that's who they're going to show the ad to, or 10,000 or whatever the number is. It'll vary based off of product or whatnot. Sure. When you increase the radius, you're basically telling Facebook, okay, everything that you just learned, forget it. And let's re-go through that process, right? Exactly. So now you're basically forcing the Facebook algorithm to pick a different section of that 100,000, or maybe now it's 120,000 people to start experimenting with. Yeah. Right. And so now you're able to get a new affinity audience. Basically, for those of you who are Google Ads people, you'll recognize the term affinity audience because that's what Google calls them. You'll get a new affinity audience, and now the algorithm can go out and start doing its job again.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you bump it out there, you reset that algorithm and it's still not working. Well, now you have an offer audience mismatch, right? And then that's when you need to focus over there.
Yeah. So you're effectively doing a soft reboot in a way.
Yep.
And that requires, well, first you can, with UpHex, you can automate that. So when that happens, you can automate it. That's one.
Yep.
And second, if you don't automate it, because maybe you want to have, instead of automation running it, maybe you want to have a system running it. So a person just checking things and doing that, it makes it, so instead of this being hours long of looking at campaigns and fumbling around them, it's a very simple thing. It's like, hey, if production falls below this KPI, do this, bump, you're done.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can do it actually one of two ways to reset the budget, or to reset that algorithm. You can either bump the radius. These are the super easy ways of doing it. Right. Either reset the radius or bump the budget. You got to bump it more than $1. So like, let's say you're doing $20, it's now $25, right? But either bumping the budget up or changing the radius, and that'll make the whole system rethink what it was doing before.
Yeah. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Again, don't make your life more difficult than it has to be. Running ads for a local audience, if you're doing it for e-commerce, I guess the contrast, if you were doing it for e-commerce, you have an ad that proves to get a certain amount of clicks and all these, all these results. And then you're in the constant pursuit of new audiences. That's what you're doing as a media buyer. And that makes sense to me. If you have millions of people to test on and to do those kind of things with, that makes sense. But that's not what we're doing. And so just to simplify things, don't make your life more complicated by doing all of these weird lookalike audiences or
well, and let's be honest with specifically lookalike audiences and stuff like that. The minimum audience size, this comes directly from Facebook, for you to have a lookalike audience, that Facebook will even actually create one, right? So they may put one in there. It may put the little green ready dot.
Yeah.
But it's actually not a lookalike audience unless the data that you gave it was at least 1,000 people, right? So if you put in there and you're like, okay, I uploaded my customer list and it's 400, 500 people, right? Your lookalike audience is actually not a lookalike audience. It is still just a blank canvas that Facebook is saying, okay, I'm going to go out and target everybody because I don't have enough information to actually make a legitimate lookalike audience. The minimum size that Facebook recommends to actually have an effective lookalike audience is between 10 and 25,000 data points.
Yeah.
So I don't know very many, gyms and doctors and lawyers and real estate agents that have 25,000 different people on their list that they can then turn around and create a lookalike audience with. The other thing too to keep in mind with local marketing, and I use this analogy all the time, Sam knows I use it constantly. Local marketing on Facebook is the equivalent of a billboard next to a freeway.
Yes.
Right. We're not trying to sell a unique little product, right? We're trying to sell general commodities, right?
Yeah, that people already know about. People know about doctors. Everybody, if there's a brick and mortar location in your town, people know about that service. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So when we try to get fancy with the targeting and we're like, oh, well, I'm going to put this interest in here, I'm going to put this behavior in here. Again, Facebook works best when you put as few handcuffs on it as possible. You've already handcuffed it a ton by saying, look, my audience is only going to be 100,000 or less people, right? And then to put even more handcuffs on it, you're almost guaranteeing that your campaign will work for maybe a week or two, and then it's dead, right? Yeah. Versus if you let the concept be, if this is a billboard next to the freeway and people are just whizzing by, I need to make my creative be attractive, right? So that way people will stop and look. And then I need to have my offer be effective so people will actually take action that are interested. And then what happens is Facebook recognizes that. So again, you're in a feedback loop here. If you're thinking of my creative needs to look good, my offer needs to be a good offer, then the Facebook user that stops and clicks, well, that tells the Facebook algorithm now, oh, well, this type of person likes this kind of stuff. And now it's going to improve that algorithm more and more and more, versus if you try to just put out a hyper-targeted ad and you're not focusing on very much, well, then Facebook's going to go, well, I just went through your whole audience in 5 minutes and nobody converted. So clearly you suck at your product sucks. So I'm kicking you off my platform.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to avoid those types of situations.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about a soft reboot, if you will. Let's then talk about offer audience match. That's a term we use here. You alluded to that, meaning if we have a good offer audience match, then we're going to generate leads. We're going to get better performance. Talk to me about offers. Talk to me about an offer audience match. If you go out and you come in, maybe you're a new agency and you come in with a couple of campaigns, and you're like, hey, these have worked, but now you're trying to do more. Talk about offer audience matches. just generally speaking, and then we can maybe deep dive that a little bit.
Yeah. And I'll also preface this for those of you, running your agency, especially if you're a new agency. This is the hardest part about running an agency, because this is where you now have to convince your client that they are wrong and you are right.
Yeah.
This is where it is super, super hard, because the problem that you'll run into with the majority of local-based marketing is they're not thinking about the end user in this marketing. They're thinking about, well, how can the client recoup the cost of their marketing as fast as possible, right? So then they're putting in these offers that are these high dollar offers. They're putting in all these restrictions, right, under the guise of we're trying to, make it more, give it more friction to eliminate people who aren't actually interested, right? We're putting all these things on there, when really what it actually is your offer isn't very good.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're getting bad results, right? That's really, when it comes to Facebook marketing for local stuff, that's really all it is. If your offer isn't good, or if you're getting bad results, your offer isn't good, right? If your client is calling you saying all these leads are crap, it's because your offer is crap, not because the leads are crap, right? And so when you're trying to find an offer audience match, the best way for you to do that is, first off, if you have this, what campaigns have been working? What framework are they built around? One of the things that we have found specifically in the medical industry is basically a two-step offer, where they're actually getting 2 appointments for their offer instead of just 1 appointment. And the reason why that works is oftentimes that first appointment is an overwhelming experience, and they may walk out of there thinking, oh, I'm feeling a little bit better, but they don't actually have that confirmation until a second appointment when they come back. And now that patient can say, oh, I can actually see results, right? Now I can have physical evidence proving we're making progress. Let's sign you up now for a care plan, or, whatever it may be. So for medical, we've learned that offers that offer a 2-step process perform much better, both for the client and for the ad itself, because the user feels like they're getting a deal than if I just came in there saying, hey, I'm going to offer a free consultation, or, hey, you're going to get the first treatment for, a discounted price, right? We have found that those don't perform as well, especially from the client perspective, or because they'll come for their 1 appointment and then never see them again, right? So you want to make sure that whatever framework of your offers is working, you then replicate that framework. Now, if you have no framework whatsoever, that's when you start doing some recon on what are my competitors doing, right? So if you're a local brick and mortar, say you're a gym, you look at what is the gym down the street doing, right? And if they're putting money to it and it's been running, and the other thing too you want to be careful of is, don't look at their brand new advertisement that they're putting out. Look at what's been running for a while. And say, okay, what is the framework that this offer is, right? So if you're a gym and maybe your competitor down the street, they're offering the first month free, and then the first year is at a discounted rate or whatever, right? I have no idea. I'd have to look it up to see if that's even a thing, but whatever, right? But that's what your competitor's doing. Well, think of that as your framework. What are they trying to do? The framework is, we're trying to decrease the risk to the client, right? Decrease their financial risk by offering them up or a free month of gym service. And then knowing that after that first month, they will then sign up and be locked into a year-long contract, right? So that's the framework, is we're going to give something that decreases the risk, but then can get them into a long-term agreement, right? And then you can develop offers based off of that.
Yeah. And we will do, offers and how those all work. That will be an entirely different video, but I'll throw in just a couple of just quick little things on this. One, whether you're a doctor, an attorney, a gym, or whatever, a consultation is not an offer.
No.
Right. And by the way, that's the one thing that they all believe they should offer, that, they think that's a good offer, and they want to get by with the minimum, viable offer. And to them, that's a consultation. So that's step number 1. If they say that I want to do a consultation, you have to figure out a way to show them that that is not the case. Okay. And that ties into number 2. in marketing, successful marketing, the money is always made on the back end, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same way the marriage proposal usually comes on after several months. Okay. It doesn't take you that long to land a client, thank goodness. But you don't propose marriage on the first date.
Yep.
Okay. And so finding out what you can, like giving up some value up front, whether that's, like you said, a free month or a free challenge or 2 free visits or this free therapy or, a free appraisal or, a free credit check, whatever this upfront thing is, understand that that is the cost of your bait, of your tackle, of everything that you need in order to actually catch fish, in order to actually be in the game. The game of marketing is not a game of words. Okay. Yep. My favorite marketer is a guy named Gary Bencivenga, and he said, I'll tell marketers again and again, a gifted offer beats a gifted pen. And the role of writing ad copy, creating headlines and body copy, while it has its place, it is not a substitute or a magic wand in marketing.
Yep.
Okay. It always comes down to whether or not the prospect thinks that the thing that you're offering is good, is valuable, is something that they want.
Well, and the other thing too, you have to remember is that prospect is also giving up something in the process, right? So
absolutely.
Again, this is something that we don't usually discuss very much when we're building out offers, is even if all you're asking for is their name and their phone number, we have to remember we live in a day and age where your phone gets, I'm sure, Sam, your phone's just like mine. You get spam text messages all the time and stuff. So people they don't want to give this information out freely, right? Very few people want to just, here, have my phone number, right? Or here's my email. So even asking for something that to you seems like, oh, that should be getting their email address, that should be no problem. To that person though, their inbox could be filled to the brim with a bunch of spam messages and they don't want to give out their email again, right? So we have to remember that even that prospect, they're also sacrificing something, be it their time, be it their information, whatever it may be, in order for you to acquire that lead. So you have to exchange something that's worthwhile for that prospect. Now, I know we've used free a lot and all that. It doesn't have to be a free gym, a free massage or whatever, right? Or a free thing with a lawyer. I don't even, whatever. But it could be, so let's say you're a realtor, right? You could put together a PDF that all of your realtors could use, because each market might have a little bit of nuances, but I'm sure there's a general checklist of things. If you're looking to buy a house, here's what you need to do, right? And so instead, what you could be offering up is, instead of, hey, I'll do a free appraisal, it's, hey, download our step-by-step guide to selling your house, right? Now you've been able to capture that person's information. You can follow up with them, and it's useful to that person, and it gets the lead into your client. So, you don't have to just think, okay, what free service am I going to hand out? There's a lot of different ways that you can make that exchange. The point is, does it match, right?
Yeah.
If you are,
I'll take your example a step further.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what you're talking about is an offer audience match. You're talking about really niching down to a very specific person. So let's say we're in real estate. Download this list of our best identified deals for home prices ranging from $450,000 to $600,000. Now, everybody who is looking for homes in that price range, they're like, man, that makes a lot of sense. These are the best deals in my price range. Boom. Now that's something that is very congruent to that audience, right? So I think the big takeaway, if I were to sum this thing up, is when you're creating offers, always look at it from the vantage point, not of your customer, but of your prospect, of their prospect, and help them see that. If you can do that, you will win. Now, we're talking about seasoned ad management. And I think we've talked a little bit.
And actually, before we jump to that topic, just one last piece too, going back to the billboard analogy.
Yes.
And the offer needs to be explained just as quick as a billboard explains something.
Yes.
Imagine you're driving down a freeway going 80 miles an hour. You look at that billboard. How many seconds do you have before you've passed it? Right. You need to be able to absorb what the offer is and make a decision if it's something you want to actually take action on in a matter of seconds. I mean, just your Facebook news feed, there's a lot of other interesting things in there that you could be looking at than that ad. So you've got to communicate that information within a split second. So your offer can't be, to continue with the real estate thing, download this PDF that's going to have, but in order to download it, you have to do X, Y, Z. And then after that, we're going to do this, that, and the other. And then we're going to, all these steps to it, they're gone. It needs to be easy. It needs to be clear. And they need to know just by looking at the picture that pops up on Facebook without having to read any text, what you're talking about, right? That picture is going to be what's going to stop them. Then they'll move on to your ad text to get more information.
That's right.
Right. So that picture needs to just nail it.
That's right.
And we're really lucky that Facebook allows you to put text on your images beyond the 20% rule. I remember for the longest time, I had to do this really fun workaround to get around the 20% rule with Facebook. But now you don't have to worry about it. You can just upload a block of text as your picture with Facebook ads now. But that the other part with that is you just got to hit them in a split second. Otherwise, you're not going to have them. So your offer has to be able to be explained in a split second.
Yeah. So let's now move away from this, and we're going to get into maybe some of the tactics that we use to identify and solve performance issues. So KPIs, key performance indicators. Let's talk about those. Now, I'm going to, the same way we did with ad creative fatigue and algorithm fatigue, I'm going to put your KPIs into two buckets as well: leading metrics and lagging metrics. There's a lot of metrics within the Ads Manager dashboard, and you can customize them any which way till Sunday. And I think, honestly, if we were to take the two of us, I being more of the holistic, more artistic side of the advertising equation, you being more the technical, tactical side of the equation, I understand how people on your side of the party line feel about metrics and things along those lines. But again, we're talking about local Facebook advertising. So from your point of view, the person who in our agency historically optimized and managed performance, talk to me about KPIs, leading and lagging metrics, and how you go about which ones you're actually paying attention to. Because what we don't want to do, and I'll just say this beforehand, and we've got another video coming out about support. What we don't want to do is be reactive to performance. Yes. It's the worst thing in the world. And you will churn clients faster than anything else. If you're hearing about poor performance from clients, this is not something that we can afford to have happen. In fact, if you see performance going down and you notify a client, we've noticed your performance falling off, we've made these changes, we'll follow up with you in 3 days or 2 days, whatever. They love that.
Yes.
Okay. So again, that's a support conversation for another day. Talk to me about KPIs, leading, lagging metrics, and what you pay attention to on a daily basis when you're optimizing campaigns.
Yep. So going back to the Facebook algorithm, and the Facebook algorithm, it makes all the decisions, right? And this is something that I told you, Sam, a long time ago. You can't talk to the prospect until you talk to the computer first, right? So you've got to make sure that the algorithm knows what you're doing before you ever worry about what the prospect is doing. Now, the algorithm is the leading indicator for the algorithm for Facebook is the auction, right? That's how that is how you're going to be made or broken on Facebook ads, is where are you placed in the Facebook auction, and how you know how you're placed, your CPMs. So there's really only two leading indicators when it comes to Facebook ads: your CPM and your clicks. Yeah. That is it. Everything else is going to be a derivative of those numbers. Your click-through rate, well, it's how many impressions and how many clicks you get your click-through rate. What's your conversion rate? Well, how many clicks, how many conversions? There's your conversion, right? There are all these derivatives. The only two numbers that matter, that are actually telling you how the algorithm thinks of you, is your CPMs and your clicks.
Yeah.
Because that's all the algorithm cares about. I mean, relatively speaking, it cares about a few other things but we can't control those, like how long did somebody pause on your post and crap like that. But what you can physically see in Ads Manager is CPMs, clicks. And if you're doing a video views campaign, percentage of video viewed, right?
Yeah.
Those are your numbers. Everything else is going to be a derivative of all that. So if you're wondering, okay, how does Facebook think of me? Look at what your average CPM costs are doing. If your CPM costs are decreasing over time,
yes,
the algorithm is liking you more and more. It's placing you in better and better auctions, and it's giving you a boost. So for those of you who, remember the days back with quality score and all those other kind of things with Facebook ads, you used to actually get like a number. You'd be rated between 1 and 10.
Yeah,
it was actually really helpful. Now they just tell you low, medium, or high, which is completely useless almost.
Yeah.
But your quality score, the higher a quality score you got, it's like Facebook pretended you had more money, right? So if you had if you're going, $10 versus $10 on a bid, right? Yeah. But you have a quality score of 10, and the other guy who bid $10 had a quality score of 9, you would win the auction because you had a higher quality score, right? Yeah. So you'll see that reflected in your CPMs. If your CPMs are decreasing consistently over time, the Facebook algorithm likes you. You want to be liked by the algorithm. If you see your CPMs are increasing consistently, right? Now you can have spikes, like obviously during Christmas time, you're going to see spikes, Super Bowl. Yep. I mean, everything where you're basically going to see a Coca-Cola ad on every street corner.
Yeah.
They're also blowing up Facebook with ads too, right? So your CPMs are going to go up just by default of inventory being bought up by these big corporations. But over time, if you average it out, if you're seeing your CPM cost consistently increasing, algorithm doesn't like you. It's where you need to do either a soft reboot, or if you've already done a soft reboot and it hasn't adjusted anything, it's time for a new offer, right? Going down, now we're seeing some positive things. The next big leading indicator is your clicks, right? Because clicks drive action, right? Somebody can view your ad, somebody can comment on it. A click actually drives action in terms of an end result. Either they're filling out a lead gen form, they're going to your website, whatever it may be. So that's the other thing. Now that information tells you what your prospects think about your offer and about your ad. If Facebook likes your offer, your CPM goes down. If your users like your offer, your clicks go up, right?
Yes.
Everything else is just going to be is just those sliders moving around, right? If your clicks are going down and your CPMs are going up, well, what does that tell you? My audience doesn't like my offer, and Facebook is starting to punish me, right? If my clicks are going up and my CPMs are going down, my audience loves my offer. Facebook is rewarding me with a better quality score.
Yeah.
And then, so, like I said, everything else will then just be a derivative of those two numbers.
Let me micro this down just a little bit.
Okay.
As an action item, we as an agency, we basically look at these metrics, but we more so look at trends within those particular metrics. So talk to me about what that system, like what we do. Share specifically what we do, and then how you use that information.
Yeah. So with trends, and that's why I reiterated with like CPMs, you're looking at it over a period of time, right? Yeah. Because it's going to fluctuate day to day. So you want to look at what that overall trend is. We typically will look at a 3-day period, a 7-day period, and a 30-day period as far as trends are concerned.
Yeah.
And we compare across those three to see what is the overall attitude of the campaign, right? Like I said, some days we'll have spikes that look horrible, and some days, we'll deliver leads up the wazoo for, a couple bucks, right? And that's just, the way of the auction, how that works. So you want to look at a 3-day, a 7-day, and a 30-day, and then you're comparing those numbers, right? So if in a 3-day window, we'll just keep everything nice, even numbers here. Let's say your CPMs on your 3-day window is $20, and your CPMs on a 7-day, average is 18, and then on the 30-day average, it's 24, right? So we're kind of looking at that. Your actual overall trend is down, right? So your highest point is your 30-day, which has the biggest block of data to it. Your shortest point is the 3-day, which has the smallest amount of data points to it. your overall trend line is falling down. What that tells you is you're performing, as far as the Facebook algorithm is concerned, you're performing well, right? Then you can look over at your trends for clicks. How are the trends of clicks doing? If, again, keep all the numbers even, if on the 3-day, I'm on average, I'm getting 100 clicks. And then on the 7-day, on average, I'm getting 800 clicks. And then on the 30-day, on average, I'm getting 1,000 clicks. That's actually a problem, right? Because your 3-day average is showing you that you're basically supposed to be averaging about 100 a day based off of the other averages.
Yeah.
But your 3-day is telling you you're under 100 a day.
Yeah.
Right. So that tells you, okay, we're starting to fall off here. And do I need to start making adjustments? That's when you start considering. You don't make changes yet. You start considering adjustments. And then that's when you start looking at other data points, some of your lagging indicators, to determine whether or not, okay, is there enough information here to determine there's a potential problem forming?
Yeah. Okay. So I think the watchers are getting the point here. We're getting a little long on time, and I hopefully that these ideas, these principles, these tactics will simplify the way that you guys run your businesses. But UpHex now is a tool that you're using to make a lot of things easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to use the last part of this conversation to talk about how you use UpHex to optimize trends, templates, and ads. Because now the old days of managing campaigns and jumping in and out of clients' ad accounts, that is a non-issue anymore, right? We do things differently. So talk to me about, from a management point of view. Again, I would love to focus on all the ad launching and all that kind of stuff. It's so fun, and templates are so fun, but there's a lot of powerful tools that we built to help reduce the time and the effort on managing campaigns. So talk to me about UpHex's back end stuff that you just love and you use.
Oh yeah. So what I'm going to do, just to keep this short, we're not even going to talk about the automatic optimizations that UpHex does.
Yes,
We're going to put those off to the side. UpHex does have automatic optimizations. You'll be able to select those for your campaigns, to be able to enable those to handle all those stupid little things that help keep Facebook campaigns moving. What I want to focus on is the templates themselves. And that's where things are really different for our agency than what they used to be.
That was a big move for us.
It was a huge move. So we moved from, and this applies whether you've got 3 clients or you've got 300 clients. It doesn't matter. Same concept applies. You move, especially in local marketing, from micro to macro, right? You're not trying to niche down your audience like you would in an e-commerce campaign. You're trying to do the opposite. You're trying to get your audience as big as possible when it comes to local marketing.
That's right.
So you got to think differently in that regard. And what UpHex really shines is it gives me the information I need to make better templates. So what we do now when it comes to optimizing, we don't go into individual client accounts and make changes. That's done. We no longer go into an individual client account. What we do is we go to the template, we look at, in our case, we're lucky. We have a lot of clients. So we have a lot more data. So we'll pull up a campaign or a template for that matter, and we'll see there's 6 clients running this campaign, right? And I don't have to look at anything but the KPIs that we focus on to know exactly what's going on with those campaigns. I know where there's a hole. I know where, if there's, if the problems with the lead gen form, if the problems with the ad, if the design, if the problems with the ad copy, I know where it is just by looking at certain numbers and just knowing, okay, that number equals this, that number equals this. So what it tells me now as the manager of the campaigns is we're seeing a consistent problem with multiple accounts with the lead gen form. Let's just use that as the example. The lead gen form is our problem. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go into each one of those individual accounts and tinker with the lead gen form? No, that's stupid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, which template is working the best? Go to that template, look at how that lead gen form is formatted. Again, I'm not copying the words. I'm looking at the format. What was the thinking behind placing things in certain places? Then make updates and changes to the lead gen form that isn't working to match that best performing format, and then go in and just push out those changes to all the clients. Yeah. I don't have to go into their accounts. I don't need to tweak or fiddle or anything. I'm using macro data now to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Same thing with ad creative. If I'm seeing, one of the cool features that UpHex has is not only do we give you template metrics, we give you ad metrics. This was something that I pushed for the developers to make, because ad creative, in my opinion, is the most important part of a Facebook ad.
You mean when you say ad creative,
image,
you're talking about the image or the video?
The image or the video. And it was funny because Sam, for Sam is an ad copy guy. He loves ad copy. That's his world. And me and him would fight all the time about which component of the ad is actually driving conversions. And I would always be like, it's the image.
Yeah.
And so with the ad metrics, I'm now able to see, again, on a macro scale, what style of images are working, right? Whether I'm using stock images or I'm using client images, I can now know with empirical data, an image that has this type of colors, has this type of, action going on inside of it, performs 3 times better than images that don't.
I want to stop you real quick, just because you mentioned something, and there's people that have an opinion right now. They just heard you say something and they have an opinion. What does perform better? The images that you like, the more organic looking, like I took this picture with my cell phone, it's me and my friends or whatever, that image, compared to the more stock templated images, which one performs better macro?
The stock images perform better macro, without a doubt. They always perform better on the macro scale.
Everybody's shocked right now because every guru and again, this is backed by macro data. We don't have a dog in the race. We don't care.
Yeah.
No, at this point for our own agency, when we're uploading templates, we wanted to know which one is going to work better. And empirically, I don't know that there's been a case where, the client's images or more like, grab off your cell phone images have worked better. The stock images just do a much more professional, have a much more professional approach to showing the value. Because again, the image, its job is to stop the scroll, convey the value, and maybe, advance the sale, the interest rather, to the copy. That's how it works.
Yep.
And if you're thumbing through, I don't know all the psychological reasons for that, but I can say I was a little bit shocked by that personally, because everybody has a course. Oh yeah, make sure you're using the client's stuff. You want it to look organic to Facebook's news feed. Garbage.
Yep. Well, yeah, definitely. Well, and to defend why you would use the images taken by the person there, what people are actually responding to is not that, Dr. Smith is in the picture. They don't care that Dr. Smith is in the picture. They could care less. What they care about is, what is Dr. Smith doing? If your ad is, you're in knee pain, come get a knee injection.
Yeah.
And Dr. Smith is there giving somebody a knee injection, you know exactly what that ad is talking about, right? That's what the user is responding to. They don't care that it's Dr. Smith. They don't care that it's my neighbor down the street sitting on the exam table. They care about doctor injecting in knee, no more pain. That's the connection that their brain is making.
That's right.
So what it really comes down to is, if you're using stock photos, pick photos that match, right? Yeah. If you can't get anybody there's no stock photos, then there are tons of people with DSLR cameras that are aspiring photographers, and then have them go out and take professional style pictures communicating your offer that you can then use for multiple clients.
That's right.
It doesn't matter who is in the picture, as long as the message is being conveyed.
That's right. Demonstration is, if you can demonstrate, like if you were to say, okay, well, give me some guidelines on images, just however you can figure out using your creative brain how to demonstrate the value, demonstration.
Mhm.
However you can do that, do it. If it's anatomy of a knee, for example, you were talking about knee, if it's an actual injection, or if it's, whatever your niche is, the better you can demonstrate whatever it is, the better off you're going to do.
Yep.
So let's loop this back, and then we need to finish this up. UpHex to identify how powerful templates are, meaning you use UpHex to think macro.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you have 10 clients from different parts of the country, they're all using a templated campaign within UpHex.
Yep.
You can now see the average of those performance. Click on that template, see a drop down menu, and look at each one individually. You're going to get a much better read on how well your offer is producing. And the more of those you get, the more of those, control templates that you get in your agency, the better your agency is going to be.
Yep.
Right?
And to
dynamic.
also one last little bit too, just to throw on how we optimize it, I think is important, is especially when we've got, let's say we got 10 people running a template. If there's one or two people that are squirrely in it, I'm not changing the template.
Right.
What I'm doing is I'm saying those two are squirrely. I now need to find a different offer for them.
That's right.
The template, the campaign is not a problem, right? Because it's working perfectly for 8 other people. Those local areas are the problem. I now need to find a better offer, audience match for those clients. That's the other nice part too, is for a long time, a lot of, me included, you'd throw the baby out with the bathwater. You'd get one client where the campaign,
and then everybody's production falls.
Exactly. Right. Now you have the ability to say, no, the problem is my client, George. His area is the problem. Let me call up George and ask him, hey, what is important to your local community? Yeah. And I will build a better offer, audience matched template for George's community that I could potentially then use for other people that are pains in the butt as well.
Yeah, that's right. I'll mention one thing about UpHex that I quite like from a optimization management standpoint. I have the luxury now of not having to do any client management for the most part. Sometimes I'll do some things, but for the most part, I don't have to do any of that anymore. But it was not always that way. And it was not always that way because Jacob's job is not a walk in the park, right? Historically, today he's got a lot easier job too. He can in a fraction of time he can do his job. But one of the things that was always at the top of my mind and it just made me I didn't love it, was hearing about lack of performance from clients. Okay, and I totally understand if you're on the management side of the agency. My heart goes out to you because I wouldn't want to do that. That's not my forte in jumping in and out of ads manager and other people's accounts. It's a silly thing to do. Yep. I like going to UpHex where it says list, clicking on list, and then seeing all of my clients there in a pretty row. And I can pick whatever time frame I want to do. I can pick 3, 7, 30, whatever it is. And I can see right there, okay, I've got 100 clients. 15 of them need some attention. 5 of them need in-person attention, right? And so instead of worrying about what I don't know, right? Because it's the lack of information that is the most frustrating. Well, I know there's 5 people. And now guess what? There's also a hierarchy. And we'll talk about this on support, but there's a hierarchy of communication. If I get them early enough, I can shoot them a text. And how long does it take you to send 5 texts? Not long at all. If I get them too late, I got to make 5 phone calls and those are going to last me 5 hours, right? Because nobody wants to talk for 2 minutes. So I absolutely love the KPI hub where we can take and look at all of our clients, all their performance over whatever time frame we want, and we can look at everything in just seconds.
Yep.
From a person who just deals with our clients, that is such an important thing. And it gives me the peace of mind just knowing, hey, okay, just have Dean or Heather jump in and say, hey, just reach out to these people. We've got a workflow executed that we're going to be optimizing these, just let them know.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, and it also super helps the client as well know that these people I'm paying money to,
yes, they're doing something
on top of it, right?
Yeah.
One of the things too that UpHex completely changed our game for, and then I think after this we probably should sign off because we've been chatting for a long time.
Yeah.
But the biggest change that UpHex gave us beyond all of the amazing features is it freed enough time so we could focus on customer service.
Oh my gosh.
That was a absolutely massive game changer for us.
Yeah.
Where before we were constantly chasing clients and you would be on the phone with people and,
yeah.
you know, there'd be a bunch of issues that would be brought to us by the client themselves. Now we stay so far ahead of them. Oftentimes our communication are, hey, we primarily, you know, are in the medical space. So, hey, Dr. Smith,
yeah,
we noticed that your campaign wasn't performing as well. We went ahead, stopped your campaign, switched you to this offer already. Just let us know if you're cool with that. Yes. Like the issue was identified, the solution was already implemented, and we were able to reach out to the client basically saying there was a problem, we already solved it, you good, and only have to do any more work if they come back and say, I don't really like that offer, can we switch it to this?
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
But
your clients will almost always follow you if you have a plan. Yep. Right. And there's one more phrase: with lack of information, people generally make up their own. Okay. So this is your enemy. This is public enemy number one for client churn.